Hey.
Brand new walk. Hey, you know what Coach Casey said about him? When Saban goes to the line, he says about Killian, so he got that swag to him. Playing with a little bravado, playing with some confidence.
No matter how bad things get, I don't ever plan on leaving Killian Hayes Island. An injury-riddled rookie year? It happens. Waiting until the last month of the season to finally start showing progress? I'm not rattled one single bit. A lot of people have given up on the former lottery pick, but you have to be excited by what he displayed on the basketball court at the end of the year, especially when you keep in mind that the Detroit Pistons have found their cornerstone player in Cade Cunningham and now need to shift their focus to simply building a core that complements him. Because Hayes could act as a great supplementary backcourt mate to Mr. Cunningham. Even though Cade could easily serve as the team's starting point guard, it could also be beneficial to have someone like Hayes fill that role and simply let Cade do Cade things elsewhere. I remember when Cunningham was getting Luka Doncic comparisons during his draft cycle, and look at Dallas and where they're at now. We're currently seeing the Mavs utilize lineups with Jalen Brunson as the point guard to Luka's heliocentric offense, and I see no reason why the Pistons couldn't go out and create something similar if they really wanted to. Now, I fully understand, end of regular season games are not popular amongst the more casual NBA audience because star players rest, there's less cohesion amongst teams, pickup basketball then ensues, and ultimately random guys have big nights. But I did go back and look through Killian Hayes' career night against the Oklahoma City Thunder when he scored 26 points in addition to 8 assists, 7 rebounds, 5 steals, and 2 blocks. An overall very impressive stat sheet stuffing performance. But even throwing the stats aside, there were plenty of smaller things on the tape to get excited about from this game, especially when looking ahead to what the future of Killian Hayes might be in Detroit. But before we get into the actual film, I do want to preface something about the lineups. The Pistons had their usual starters out there. They ended up playing their first shift, but would then go on to sit the rest of the game. Meanwhile, the Oklahoma City Thunder had about half their roster on the injury list, so that pretty much left Killian Hayes as the guy that should have been, and ultimately was, the best player left. He was in control of the tempo whenever he was on the court, he was commanding with the ball, and he ended up putting a lot of pressure on an OKC defense that by no means was world-ending, especially on this given night, but these are all still NBA caliber guys playing NBA caliber defense. With that out of the way, let's watch Killian Hayes cook. Detroit made an effort to treat Hayes like their star player for the night by getting the ball in his hands early with some design plays. Just a couple minutes into the game, you can see Cade Cunningham runs a weak side handoff with Saddiq Bey, which then gets rotated over to a handoff for Killian Hayes, who takes it strong into the paint and gets the easy floater. Then to start the second half, the Pistons' first possession starts with Hayes, who gives it up in order to get it back, this time again off another handoff / pick and roll, which he then takes into the paint again and shows off the vision. And although he doesn't end up getting a shot or leading to any points, again, just the fact that the Pistons were treating him like the main playmaker is a good sign. Then fast forwarding to the end of the game, 2 minutes left, Pistons have a solid lead but are looking for that last dagger. They get it to Killian Hayes, run the pick and roll for him, he gets a switch, puts the moves on, and hits the step back midi pretty effortlessly. In general, Killian Hayes is the type of player who performs best when the ball is in his hands. He has a great knack for manipulating the defense and creating shots for others. But I feel like most people that know Killian Hayes, even at the surface level, are aware that he's a great playmaker, as he usually puts that on display pretty much every night, and this game was no different. On this play here, Hayes comes off the screen and attacks the paint, and uses his eyes to keep Theo Maledon off of Isaiah Livers just long enough for him to get the shot off. Again, this goes back to the great manipulation of Killian Hayes, because him, although it might not seem like much, him keeping his eyes on the roll man makes sure that Maledon has to stay in the paint just long enough, again, for Livers to get off a clean enough attempt. Here, after a make, we see Hayes push the ball up quickly, takes another screen, drives into the paint and draws multiple defenders, again uses his eyes to make sure that the help defender has to wait as long as possible to make his choice, which leads to another open 3 in the corner. And if you need any more evidence of the great vision of Killian Hayes, take this play for example, where Isaiah Livers doesn't even realize how open he is, that he just wasn't even expecting the pass, but Hayes was able to get to him and unfortunately ends in a turnover, but again, that's one you can't even really be mad about, because Killian Hayes made a great play, Livers just was not expecting it, because that's a difficult pass to make. And this one, I just could not leave this one out, but after some back and forth rotations at the top of the key, Killian Hayes barely even takes the screen before firing a one-handed lefty live dribble bullet pass to the opposite corner as he catches the help defender cheating a bit too much. And although it doesn't end in a shot, I mean, this is just a ridiculous pass to make. When I was watching this, that one had me up and screaming. Another staple of Killian Hayes' game is his defense. Not only is he 6'5", but with a 6'8" wingspan, not only does he have great size for a point guard, but it even allows him to defend larger two guards and smaller wings on switches. He can even hold his own in the paint, similar to guys like Marcus Smart and James Harden. On this play, Killian Hayes gets switched onto the big in a pick and roll, gets posted up, and as the big goes to make his move, Killian Hayes simply strips it out of his hands. And on this next play, a pick and roll in transition leads to another switch, Killian Hayes lagging behind, but makes up for it with a great come from behind block on the larger offensive player. Again, just ridiculous defensive skills from this guy. And I'll pick on the OKC bigs one more time as Isaiah Roby catches on the perimeter, tries to take Killian Hayes off the dribble, but quickly learns that that is not the right idea, as it is just one of the easiest steals of Killian Hayes' career. And just when you thought I was done, I forgot I actually had another clip of Isaiah Roby getting absolutely manhandled by Killian Hayes on the defensive end. Again, tests him on the drive, and Hayes literally just strips it straight out of his hands and takes it the other way. And even if you had questions about the off-ball defense, I'll give you this. Here's Killian Hayes guarding his guy one pass away, and although it was not a very good pass and just poor communication on the offense, he has the quickness to just jump into passing lanes and immediately take it in the other direction. And then finally, Teo Maledon brings it up after a make, swings it around a little bit, gets Hayes switched onto him, and just completely gets smothered up by Hayes on the drive to the rim. Again, Hayes, he's just an all-around defender. He can do off-ball stuff, he can do on-ball stuff, he's got great hands, he can get vertical quick, he has a good IQ. There are very few things that he can't do on the defensive side of the ball. But to be honest, the part of his game that I was most impressed by was Hayes' aggression on offense. I feel like I see tweets from Pistons fans every other night about how Hayes is a non-factor on that end of the floor. Not only has he not shot the ball well since getting into the NBA, more on that in a little bit, but he barely even shoots it at all. In fact, across his first 2 seasons, Hayes averaged 7 shot attempts per game. You could dig even deeper and find that in the 61 games prior to this one on the season, Hayes took 10 or more shots in only 9 of them. So to see him step up and take 25 shots in this game is again a great sign for his future. Anyways, let's look at the great job that Hayes did pushing the tempo in this one, because it really was excellent. On this play here, Hayes cheats in, grabs the rebound, and which allows him to immediately take off the court. Even though it's a 3-on-4, the OKC defense is not set, there's no one in the paint, and the little handoff to Saben Lee allows him to get straight to the rim. Even after made thunder shots, Killian Hayes immediately pushes it up the floor, gets into the paint, and then draws another defender and swings it out. Another great pass that swung and leads to an open 3. On this play again, the air ball passed out to Killian Hayes, pushes it up the floor and just takes his man straight to the rim, draws the help, and kicks out for another open 3. Again, another air ball leads to Hayes, straight rebound, takes up the court, draws 4 defenders into the paint, and makes the kickout pass that eventually leads to the easy bucket in the paint. And if you played youth basketball, then you know your coaches would always harp that a pass is way faster than dribbling up the court, which Killian Hayes shows off here. Fires a great pass up ahead to Saddiq Bey before the defense can be set, which leads to yet another attack on the rim, and Saddiq Bey gets the and one because of it. If you can't tell by now, I'm very excited for Killian Hayes as we approach this next season. I think it could end up being a breakout year for him, although I also wouldn't be very surprised if Detroit ends up making the decision to make him expendable in the case he falls back into his old habits. One positive for Hayes is that he still can't purchase alcohol legally in the United States, so theoretically, he should still have plenty of good basketball left ahead of him. He's nowhere near his prime, and again, should have plenty of time to grow and become a better player than he is now. Because at the end of the day, an improved Killian Hayes would be a really good fit in the backcourt with Cade Cunningham. They're both good defenders, can guard multiple positions, they move the ball well, and they're great in transition. The biggest issue that arose from this season was that Killian Hayes' scoring is still yet to come to fruition. I already mentioned the field goal attempts, but there's more to it. So far in his career, Hayes has shot 37% from the field and 27% from 3, which is definitely not good. What this allows opposing defenses to do is play heavy help with whoever is guarding Hayes, which makes scoring even more difficult for the rest of the Pistons on the court. Take this play for example. Killian Hayes is in the corner while the Pistons run their offense, but if you see, Killian Hayes' man has 2 feet fully planted in the paint as a help option, and although he wasn't necessarily used on this play, The fact remains that Killian Hayes does not have to be worried about if he's out on the perimeter without the ball. He needs the ball in his hands to be effective. I actually went and checked Hayes' catch and shoot numbers after seeing this and found that on the season, he's averaging a little under 2 catch and shoot threes per game, which he's hitting at a 28.7% rate, which is also very bad, but ironically is better than his overall 3-point shooting percentage, so take that information as you will. Luckily for Killian Hayes, the Pistons are still relatively early on in their rebuilding timeline, so he'll likely have at least somewhat of a leash as we do approach next season. He's shown enough talent so far that even if he doesn't improve much from here, he can still be a very valuable defensive-minded guard off the bench. I mean, look at Rajon Rondo. He's had over a decade-long career in the NBA, being a point guard who can play defense and get guys the ball in order for them to score the ball, even though Rondo has never been that great offensively, which is no slander to Rondo, that's just what he is. And I think that worst comes to worst, that's something that Killian Hayes could be as well, just a veteran guy who can bounce around from team to team and just offer advice, offer some good ball movement, and offer some good defense to whatever team needs it. For now, the big question that will hang over Detroit as Hayes' rookie contract plays out is whether he's a good fit for this Pistons team or not. They did move him to the bench in January in favor of veteran Corey Joseph, but Hayes ended up finishing the last month of the season strong, playing some of the best basketball of his career while averaging a little over 10 points, 4.5 assists, 4 rebounds, and 1.5 steals per game. Of course, highlighted by the big 26-point performance that could end up being the spark to Hayes' breakout season if it ends up happening that way. And if you've made it to this point in the video, then congratulations, you're a real one. Now, if you enjoyed this video, maybe think about hitting the subscribe button. It should be somewhere in this general direction. Or if you're not sure yet, maybe check out another video which should be in this general direction. Either way, thank you for watching.